Welcome everybody to a new episode of our review for The Mandalorian episode 2. And I'm getting all choked up. It's an emotional episode, man.
No, it wasn't. Oh, because of the Jawas that died and got disintegrated?
They got disintegrated,
God
yeah.
Damn.
Anyway, episode 2. So we get 2 episodes this week, and then it's going to be every other Friday. So we'll be back next week with episode 3.
Every other Friday?
No. Did I say every other Friday?
What is wrong with you?
It's been a long week, man. I'm tired.
Oh, okay.
But I'm good, though. I'm good. I'm leaving all this in. Let's get into this episode. I'm Turtle. This is Disco. Let's get into it. So, the episode, the one thing that I really liked about it, and I kind of mentioned this in our reaction, is that it started off like the first 10 to 15 minutes of the episode where I thought it was going to kind of be like a silent episode. I kind of mentioned that it kind of has the imagery and the look of like a lone wolf and cub, but when we're following the Mandalorian with the, I guess what you want to call it, the yodeling, Yoda Jr. What do you want to call it?
Whatever you want to call it, man. Let's call it Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda. I'm gonna say yodeling.
Okay.
I like that. It's like yodeling.
Stop. You can say yodeling, but don't do yodeling.
I'm not. I can't. I don't even know how to do it. But they're going through like this
crevasse.
Let's go with that. And they get attacked by, it looks like that race of like the other bounty hunters that we saw. I think his name is Boz from Empire. But they get attacked by some people or some aliens there that look like they're trying to take out the Yoda Jr. And we get a pretty badass sequence that ends with him using that staff where people
maybe they're just trying, not necessarily. Oh yeah, well because the bounty's out on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the bounty's out on that. So I'm thinking that because IG-11 from the last episode was out for that bounty as well. Yeah. So they're probably bounty hunters on the track because we see the tracker or one of those trackers at the end of that sequence. Yeah. So, but what did you think about how that sequence, as far as action-wise, how that was choreographed and the look of everything?
It was cool. This episode was directed by Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah,
and
dope.
There was there's a pretty cool portion of there's a large portion of that sequence that is filmed from the yodeling's perspective, like basically like over the shoulder. So a lot of this episode is. The yodeling is shown being like very observant. You know, there's a bunch of reaction shots. Yeah. They show like a bunch of stuff happening to the Mandalorian, but then they almost always cut back to the yodeling for a reaction shot just to show him like being very observant. Yeah. And there's kind of I don't know if there's necessarily you would call it a payoff like towards the later part with the space rhino, but he's being watchful, and you can tell that there's something going on there beside him sitting there looking cute. Yeah,
exactly. Because I mean, you see him at the end of that first episode, and they say that he's 50 years old, and what that means. I know you think he's, it's all relative because he's still a baby compared to that race of people or the race of alien. But you could see that even as a child, as a baby, that he's still intuitive, that he's learning, that he could understand when someone's in danger, what's right and what's wrong, and he tries to help. Even when you see him, like when they're at the fire at night, and he's trying to tend to his wound that's on his arm, the yodeling comes out and walks up to him and is about to touch it, almost like he's trying to heal him. Yeah. So I like how we're getting aspects of that, and again, going to the fact that we get all this information in something where there's no dialogue being spoken at this moment in the episode, but. Then we see something which is familiar to Star Wars canon from A New Hope, the Jawas that we see, and the Mandalorian just goes right into attack mode from high on this cliff. Like, we know that they're like scavengers and they're junkers and they steal stuff to trade and whatnot.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, this moment they were stealing from his ship.
Oh damn! You know what? They were at his ship. Okay, I thought they just came across him. Okay, yeah, you're right. They are at his ship, so that does make sense why he would start blowing them up. But then this chase ensues where he goes after them, and I thought that was pretty well shot, pretty exhilarating. Where you see him trying to climb up the side of their.
They had the old school Batman. That old school Batman.
Yeah, like the grappling hook.
But he was probably doing that in real life. He was probably doing that for real.
So how was it seeing the Jawas in that whole sequence?
It's pretty cool. I mean, because at the very least, we get a sense of Rick Famuyiwa and how he would direct, a fast-paced, mobile like action sequence. Because at one point he was supposed to be directing like the Flash movie, and I was always curious to see what that would have looked like, even though that didn't pan out, unfortunately. But just to see him do, because you have a hand-to-hand set piece earlier, action sequence, and now you have a more elaborate one that starts off with a chase and ends up with him scaling the side of the friggin', oh my gosh, I can't remember it.
Yeah. I mean, forgive us for these names. Like I said, I'll say I'm a casual Star Wars fan, still a fan, but I'm
gonna just blurt it out randomly later on because that's gonna come to my mind. So forgive me for that outburst in advance. But no, you see him scaling the top of that, and then there's some humor. I was gonna say there's some humor in the sequence, but I don't think that was intentional because we both were laughing at the Jawas getting all when they were getting flung off the side.
It's funny. Come on, man. Look,
it is funny. I'm not saying it's not, but all I'm saying is I don't know that humor was intentional, man. I laugh at a bunch of inappropriate shit.
Well, so I mean, you think about last week's episode with IG-11 wanting to blow himself up.
That's funny. That's intentional.
That was intentional. I think some of this was intentional as well.
Okay, well, good. That means I get a free pass on the last then.
Yeah, I mean,
but I thought that sequence was cool. Although it proved to be fruitless. Because ultimately he didn't end up.
He didn't get his stuff back, and he ended up getting knocked back down off their little rover or whatever you want to call it.
But I mean, the purpose for that was to set up the barter between
Nick
Nolte's character. I can't even remember the homeboy's name.
Yeah, I can't remember his character, but
Sandcrawler.
Let us know.
So
I'm not gonna say yes or no. I don't know.
So that whole thing not working out was to set up this barter to give the Mandalorian this side mission. Like if you play video games, and that's basically what this equates to. It's a fetch mission, right? So he doesn't have anything to offer. They want his armor, but he's like, he's not giving you that. So they say, all right, well, go get the egg. You gotta go get the egg. So he has to go fetch this space rhino's egg, and that leads to I think the purpose of this sequence,
I think it's for the Yodeling as well,
was to really set that up. Yeah, and establish like his power. I guess you can get into that.
Yeah, no, but that's what I wanted to go to because this whole episode, it's only 33 minutes, and I kind of talked about that in the reaction, how these episodes are feeling really short. But I know some fans, and what I've heard online, some people have issues with the runtime of these episodes. But I think how these episodes are being presented, I like the runtime. I like that they're kind of shorter episodes. They're not too short. They're not like 22 minutes, 25 minutes, but 33 minutes, especially for what we got in this episode, which really just felt like it was an episode about the Mandalorian trying to barter for his the parts for his ship back and going on this side mission. And I think it was to
and also the discovery of the Yodeling's power.
Yeah, I think it was to set up his powers and to show what he can do in that relationship that's starting to form as well. So
as long as the runtime services the narrative, as long as what you're trying to get across in the narrative can be conveyed within whatever the runtime is, whether it's 22 minutes, 33 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, then me personally, I don't have a problem with it. Because for me, what I don't like is episodes that have filler
stuff in there,
right? Stuff that could be excised that has nothing to do with the narrative, or that could be conveyed shorthand or in a more efficient manner. But this one seems because basically the long and short of it is it picks up from the end of the last episode where he becomes in possession of the Yodeling, and he's got to get to a ship. So that's the episode.
Yeah, that's really it.
I got to make it to the ship in this foreign land, dangerous land where there's bounties on my tail. There's natives here who are scavengers, and I got to get to my ship. I left my ship out in the open in this land that's ruled by scavengers.
Yeah.
So the natural progression of that ship being scavenged in that way, it makes sense.
It makes sense. So, yeah.
The efficiency in the episode, like I didn't really think about it as a whole until like just now saying it out loud. But that's perfect, I think.
And I like how the show is called The Mandalorian, but I like how we're just following his character. It's not like where we dip in and out of different stories, like a Game of Thrones, where you go and you see all these different storylines and you cut it. And it makes sense. And I didn't expect this show to be like those other shows because it's not a show that is doing a whole bunch of world building or trying to establish all these other different characters. It's almost kind of like in a way, like Mad Max, how Max would just kind of go through the world and run into like these different people. It's like the Mandalorian is running into like the Nick Nolte character. Then we'll get to the Gina Carano character at some point. It runs into IG-11, but we're on his journey, following his journey as he experiences this with all these different characters. So it kind of feels.
I appreciate you bringing up Mad Max.
I know you do.
Shout out to Fury Road.
But it does feel like that, like I said, like it's his story, but we get introduced to these side characters through his journey.
I think the choice to handle this show in this way, at the very least early on, because we got a couple of episodes.
Yeah, we got still more. We still got more to go.
But I think, that's saying something, and that's commendable because they have a world that is rich with so many different compelling and complex characters. They could easily cut away. All right, while he's nursing his wounds, what's happening over here?
Or like what's going on with Werner Herzog's character,
right?
That,
So what is Carl Weathers doing? Like, does he have a relationship to any of these other characters? So I don't know. Like, that's saying something that they're choosing to focus on. The man, to stay with him.
And like I was saying last week, like how it just feels like this is a world that's already been lived in, which it has been because we have so much history with Star Wars. But I like the fact that it's not holding the viewer's hands. Like I noticed this last week, and it was a bit confusing to me. But like how we don't get names of planets, we don't get names of races of aliens. Yeah. Like you literally just following this character, and he goes to this planet, but you don't have like somebody saying, "Oh, we need you to go to such and such." So it's like informing us. It's just like, look, if you know it, great. If you don't, like we said last week, catch up, or we'll make sure you get. But I was thinking about it this past couple of days. And I was like, I kind of like that. I like that they're not telling us or not giving us all the information as far as like what's, because that's not normally how people would operate when you're living in this world. You know what I'm saying?
And at the end of the day, like how much does it really matter to what's being told in this particular story?
Yeah. Because I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, well, what planet is he on? Like, what's the name of that planet? But it's not like they have to say it, or because if he does, he's just saying it just to inform us as the audience. But right. I don't know. I kind of dig that. But so the Space Rhino, how did you like that sequence as far as like how that was staged and the special effects and all that stuff? I thought it looked amazing.
Yeah, that's the first thing. There, granted the episode is only 33 minutes long, but the budget. Yeah. It doesn't look like they're skimping on the budget for this particular episode, and that's commendable too because, especially something as CGI and effects heavy as this whole set piece, you don't want to lose the audience or distract from the storytelling that's being conveyed visually by taking the audience out of it by having like some shoddy CGI or whatever, because everything else leading up to this is of high quality too. So with something that's as effects heavy as this particular scene, they didn't skip on the budget. That thing looked it moved with a tangible weight to it. Like when it was when it was running into him and slamming his horn down on him and then putting him in the ground. Like you really felt that, and so they did a good job with that.
Yeah, and we talked about how that scene was really kind of to set up the Youngling and his powers and what he can do, and also just building that relationship when you get to like the final shot when they are in the spaceship and leaving the planet. But I want to get to Nick Nolte's character before we close out this review because I like. I don't know if we'll see his character again. Yeah. But when he helped him fix his ship, he asked him, how can I repay you? And he was like, or I can't remember exactly, but Nick Nolte's character says, he's like, I've already lived my life of servitude, so there was nothing more that he wanted, and he's never seen the Mandalorian.
Well, because but he said that because he offered him, hey, I could use somebody with your skill on a crew with
me. That's right.
And he was like, nah, dude, I already work for people. I'm retired right now. I don't have no boss over me, so I'm good.
Yeah, but I like that nobility of his character. I like that respect that he has for the Mandalorian that we've seen in these last 2 episodes. And I think it really does kind of flesh out Nick Nolte's character in just, I guess you could say, in like an hour of this show so far. It really kind of gives him like this really like fleshed out characterization that I really liked, and you can definitely see that by the end of this episode when he takes off.
Yeah.
But any thoughts on like Nick Nolte and just his arc or his characterization within these 2 episodes?
Oh, it's cool. Like I mean, if we don't see him again, I mean, I like what we got from him. If we don't see him again, I wouldn't be mad. I felt like because there's always different famous, like these big names that are in this show, and for a show that's really seems to be focusing on the Mandalorian, it would make sense that they just come in and out like not overstaying their welcome. I wouldn't want them to have him overstay his welcome by forcing him in there, because we got characters that we ain't even met yet. Gina Carano, like we haven't seen her yet. Other characters that are supposed to come in, we haven't seen yet. So I felt like you keep Nick Nolte in there, but then you have to you can't just have him not doing anything, so there's a lot of screen time to him. And the new characters and the Mandalorian. We got the baby yodeling. What does that mean? And we got to go back and figure out what Werner Herzog character really is up to.
And we haven't, like you said, we haven't seen Gina. We haven't seen Giancarlo Esposito.
His character.
Gus Fring, Space Gus Fring.
Fring.
But I, like a lot of speculations about he might be like the main bad guy or main villain. Or from the way this show is set up for these first 2 episodes, he might be the one that's going to be going after the Mandalorian once they find out that he's kind of gone rogue with his assignment.
Hell, maybe. Werner Herzog may be like one of the main bad guys because he wanted the baby dead.
He wanted it, and we don't know if we'll see him again. So he may come back. Carl Weathers may come back. So I mean, the way it's set up, it seemed like it's and not to look at it in a bad way, but it seems like it's a simple story that we've seen before. But it being in the Star Wars world and the characters that we've already been introduced to and the potentiality of where this could go really makes it exciting to see where it's actually going to go. So, I don't know, man. I guess episode 2, I think it's titled The Child, from what I've seen online. The Child. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. I apologize for my goofiness in the beginning. I was off air, That's how we do. That's how we do, man.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
You're supposed to tell them that.
I'm just saying, you know.
Okay.
I just want to apologize if they got annoyed by my silliness in the beginning.
Okay.
Anyway, remember to check out our other dorks at MouthDork, at DiscoDork, at WB Dash, and at Sidewalk Siren. As for me, I am the TurtleDork. And with that,
you're not gonna tell them to subscribe?
Subscribe. I get all jumbled up. Subscribe to the podcast on at Apple Podcasts and everywhere podcasts can be found.
Also, the YouTube channel for the people who just stumbled across this because it came up because of YouTube algorithms.
All that algorithm stuff. Go ahead and
give us saying that word, algorithm.
Algorithm.
Sorry, you can continue.
Algorithm. See,
it's fun, right?
I'm getting over a cold.
You choked up. Jesus.
I'm getting over a cold. But check out our website too, inthemouthdorkness.com, the one-stop shop where you can get to the YouTube channel. You get all of our podcasts throughout our whole network, interviews, articles, all that good stuff.
His bank account information.
No, you can't get that there. No. Check out all that stuff, and we will be back next week with episode 3 of The Mandalorian. We out.